Everyone, all you beautiful people, do you hear that thunder in the background of my home? So I'm telling you ahead of time, if we are interrupted, it will probably be due to the weather. It seems that recently, this week particularly, around this time at night, we're having terrible thunderstorms. And so sometimes the internet just goes out. If it does, we'll give it an opportunity to come back. But if for some reason we are interrupted, please know that I will email all of you whenever I have access again to pick up where we left off. Hopefully, we can get through this without any weather interruptions. Thank you all so much for being here. And we are being recorded, just so that you know. This is the presentation about provider marketing. And that's one of the segments of our business that some insurance professionals actually work very, very well. There are some insurance professionals who do nothing but provider marketing, which means that they work with providers. They may have an MSO. You are all familiar with FMOs and IMOs. Well, the doctors have MSOs, medical service organizations. So certain medical service organizations have a group of doctors in different areas, in different states, across different metropolitan cities. So some insurance professionals may only work with one MSO, and they take care of the providers that are working with that medical service organization. The medical service organization for the doctors are the ones who do the contracting with the carriers, just like your FMO and your IMO would do for you, for your health and your life products, so that you understand that. So the first thing is to know that provider marketing can help your business depending on how you want to run your business. And most of the trainings that I do are set up for people who are independent contractors, you're self-employed entrepreneurs. You have your own business. It's not really for the captives. There are certain groups, certain medical practices that only work with carriers. So the people, the insurance professionals who are working with those offices are captive agents for the particular insurance carrier. The information that I'm going to share with you tonight is for those of you who, like myself, are independent insurance professionals. You are self-employed, you are an entrepreneur. So let's start by identifying who would the providers be. Now, the provider can be anyone who's in the midst of delivering the services that are within the insurance contracts for or policies for your customers. But the ones that are going to stand out and the ones that you really want to connect with are going to be, first of all, primary care doctors. Primary care doctors, physicians who are internists, physicians who are family practice, so those might be general practitioners, and particularly those who are geriatric specialists. They may be known as primary care because they're geriatrics and not necessarily classified as specialists, but if the doctor's information indicates that they are specialized in geriatrics, then that's someone that you will want to work with. Give me a minute. I thought I heard someone come in. So I want to make sure everybody is here and everybody's comfortable. Now, outside of identifying primary care internists, family practitioners, and geriatric doctors, there are some specialists that you can work with who are going to be key to the people or the audience that you are serving. And those specialists are going to be the ones who are the ones that are connected directly to the chronic conditions that are in the chronic Medicare Advantage plans that you offer. So you're looking for cardiologists, you're looking for endocrinologists for the diabetics, and if you have plans where COPD or anything similar to that is one of the chronic conditions, then you may be looking for pulmonary specialists as well. Now, I'm going to ask you a question and you can answer in the chat, or you can raise your hand and answer. But let me just ask you, if you were doing or you were going to start to work with providers, who would you look for? What doctor's offices would you look for if you were actually going to plan next week to go out and look for doctors that you can work with? Where would you start? Do you have any idea where you might start?
I think I may start with like the small, like the hometown small doctors. I don't know.
Uh, who was talking?
Station.
Okay, you hit it right on the head. Thank you so much. Now, why would you all think that that would be where you would start?
The urgency.
Well, for one thing, think about this. Remember, no matter what anybody tells you, numbers are important not only to us, but they're important to any business.
Mhm.
So a smaller practice that has maybe 3,000 patients, if they were to lose 10% of their patients because they're no longer contracted with a particular carrier, or for whatever reason, the plans that they had are no longer available, that's a big hit to their bottom line. But if you're looking at a larger organization, like a hospital associate affiliate organization, where the doctors are connected to the hospital, they're all paid, they're salaried by the hospital organization. For them to lose 300 patients is not going to make that much of a dent in their bottom line. But the practitioner who may be in a solo practice, working through a medical service organization, contracted with these various carriers, and maybe the carrier decides because the reporting isn't the way that they would like for it to be, and they have audited the practice. The HEDIS reports are not keeping up with what Medicare requires. So the insurance company may decide that we're not going to renew your contract. That doctor's office would be hurt. So the ones who are the smaller ones in any area are the ones that you should start with. They're the ones, think about the ones, the doctor's offices, and I can remember working with a particular doctor's office. His wife was the receptionist at the front. She was the office manager, she was the receptionist. So it was really, really a family, a solo practice. One customer, one patient that leaves that practice could hurt his bottom line. So, of course, he wanted to work with someone who would always be able to bring the patients to his office, new patients, and help him to retain the ones that he has. So that was the doctor that when I had tickets for golf, I had tickets for movies, had tickets for plays or anything like that, that was the doctor I gave them to because he carried my business card in his coat pocket. So he could go and hand it to his patients because he knew that if they called me, I was going to make sure they stayed in his office and they'd have a plan that he could work with. So that's the kind of relationship that you want to build. Think about that. And I tell you that because being a visual person, for me, if you can tell it to me straight and simple and easy, I can understand it and I get it. Does everybody get that? You want to work with those who need your help. You cannot deliver medical services. You are not a medical practitioner. You can't tell anybody, you can't give a diagnosis. You can't even talk about the medications. But you are the only one, that doctor cannot offer them an insurance plan, but you can. So the two of you can work together and you can complement each other. When you go into any of the practices, there are certain things that you want to know about the doctor. And probably the first thing that you're going to ask of me, I'm hoping you want to know this, is how can you find the ones that I just described? Anybody already know the answer to that? Okay. First of all, choose the carrier that you are most familiar with writing, the one that you have most of your plans with, the one that you've worked most of your years with, the one that you and the broker manager, you got their number on speed dial and they know you when you call. Think about that. Go to that carrier. Look at the plan that is most popular that you've written, which is probably going to be a Medicare Advantage HMO POS. In some areas, it might be a PPO, but in most areas, it's going to be an HMO POS plan. Go to that plan for that carrier, look up the providers, pull down the provider list, and when you pull down the provider list, look for who is the MSO. If the doctor's name is there, that means that doctor is an independent doctor that is working directly with the carrier. And it may have an MSO name or affiliate name there, but click on the name of the doctor so that the information about the actual provider expands so that you're aware of where he went to school, he or she went to school, what accolades they have, what training they've done, any specialties that they have, what languages they speak, and it will also tell you if they are affiliated with a larger organization. That would be my suggestion for you to find them first. Now, this is going to be just like all of us, everyone here writes Medicare plans. So there are 11,200 people turning 65 every day. So just like there are all those Medicare beneficiaries out there, there are going to be a lot of providers. In certain areas for certain plans, the network may not be that large because there are certain carriers whose business philosophy is we don't want a million providers. We want to work with just a certain number of providers in this county because our mission is to deliver better care. So don't think that every doctor is going to be in the network because every doctor won't, but you got to be able to match the plan that you plan or plans that you work best with to the doctors who need your help. That's putting together provider marketing all in a nutshell. So now that you know who it should be and where you're going to find them, I'm thinking your next question is going to be, so now that you found them, how do you approach them? Would that be your next question? I see some heads going, yes, that would be my next question. That makes sense, right? That does make sense. So now a couple things you're going to want to know. First of all, if you're going, I have a book about provider marketing. It's on Amazon. So if you go to Amazon, you put in Faye Saxon Horton, all the books that I have will come up. And one of them is about provider marketing. So that can help you that way. But now that you've gotten a list of, say, 10 or 12, it's just like if you were getting a list of senior communities that you were going to, or senior facilities that you were going to reach out to. So now you got your list. You want the practices to be within a reasonable driving distance of where you are. So this is not particularly and does not work. If you picture what I just told you, you can see that it's not going to work for those of us who are licensed in multi-states. Trying to create this provider relationship with someone who's in another state is not going to work as well. This is a hometown, homegrown process, and there's plenty of opportunity for you to use it. There are certain plans in some states that specialize in chronic plans. One that I can think of in particular, if you're in Florida or you're in Arizona, Gold Kidney does nothing but chronic plans. So knowing that, and because they are new, they've only been around for like 3 years. This will be the third year. They don't have a lot of doctors. And what they did to improve their network was they're buying into a much larger network. But a lot of those doctors, some of them don't even know that they're in network yet. These are the ones that you're going to look for in your hometown. Just like anything else, you're not going to go to the doctor's office on a Monday or a Friday. Unless, of course, you've already built that relationship. And some doctor's offices, close at noon on Friday so the staff can catch up with the paperwork. If that's the case, and that's when you can actually get in to talk to the office manager or the doctor, that's fine. But don't go on a Monday, please. Don't even think about a Monday. That's not a good day for a medical practice. For some reason, the people that we work with always get sick on the weekend and they're in the doctor's office on Monday morning. So that's their busiest time. That's when they're going to be very, very busy and not have time to really say hello to you. But you're going to, now that you have your list, when you go in, you want to be as courteous as possible. Apologize that you don't have an appointment, but your first visit is only going to be a brief introduction. And during that brief introduction, what you want to accomplish is, who is the person that you should be talking to? Is it the office manager or is it the person that's sitting at the desk? And you never know. It could be the person at the desk. Remember, I told you that doctor's office, his wife was the office manager, the receptionist. So you never know. Most times it's not. But if you walk in and you say, hello, my name is Faye, and I'm an insurance professional. I work in this area, and there are a lot of people that I work with who are always looking for good doctors' offices. Who would I talk to here if I wanted to help you to grow your practice? Would it be you? Would that be you? Would you be the person that I should speak with? 9 times out of 10, it's not, but you've just made that person feel so good for the day because they're probably at the bottom of the pole. They don't know anything about the patient except, what's your insurance card? But you've made that person feel well enough so that they will give you information. As a sales professional, you will learn, if you haven't already, all of you probably already know how to extract the information that you need. Not unnecessary information, but information that you need. So by asking the question that way, you are actually going to get an answer. She's going to say, oh, no, I'm not. So and so is the office manager. Oh, great. Is she available? I'd like to just leave my card and introduce myself. But if not, don't worry about it. What's the name? So her name is Faye. What's the last name? What's the best time that I might be able to reach Faye or speak to Faye for a moment? They're going to let you know. And now remember, if this person at the front, the gatekeeper, doesn't have a skin in the game, she's on a job. She's doing her job. But she knows a lot because of where she's sitting. And I say she, but it could be a he just as well. Just remember, that person could be very key. So whatever compliments you can give that person, do so. But your objective is to find out who it is you should talk to, when is the best time to talk to them, and can you get their contact information? You want their cell phone, their email, or how can you get in touch with them? And that will take you less than 2 minutes to do. Just that first little quick touch. And you might ask them, well, if Tuesday is the best time to reach them, your next question is, how many people actually work in the office? Now, the reason you're asking that question is because when you come back to meet the office manager, if there are 6 people who are working in the office, bring a half a dozen of donuts. You don't want to bring a donut just for the person you're going to talk to. Bring a half dozen if it's 6 people working in there. And let her know you brought something for everybody. Now, this is just, you're getting past the gatekeeper. And the purpose of the training tonight is to give you step by step. So we've already identified who you want, what practices you want to look for. You got that, right? Got that in your notes. You know what size they should be, you know, who you're looking for. You got a good idea of how to find them. Now you're getting into the office, you know, who to talk to and how you're going to go about it. Now, when you come back for that next visit with the person who you should be speaking with, again, you're not going to try to be there for an hour, a half an hour. This is a quick thing. You're dropping off the donuts, you're happy to meet them, and you're going to ask questions. Those questions are going to be questions for that you need, things you need to know. Like, are they accepting new patients? And if they are accepting new patients, how long does a new patient have to wait for an appointment? Now, these are questions you can ask, and there's so many different ways that you can ask them. But the reason you're asking these questions is you want the person you're talking to understand that even though this is a win-win, it's a win for them and it's a win for you. You never want it to appear that it's only a win for you. You want it to be definitely in their mind when you leave that you are going to help them. Now, you may have to leave and figure out later how you're going to do that, but you want them to understand that you are there to help them. So, one question is, are they accepting new patients? And if they are, what's the wait time for a new patient? How does that work? What's that process? If you were to, and you can use an example, say, if I were enrolling someone today, which is August 5th for September 1st, when I'm with that person, may I call you and say that they're going to be a member as of September 1st? Or would you prefer if I waited until we have their member ID? Ask questions like that. That's how you're getting them to know that you're really thinking about them. The other questions that you're going to ask them would be, which other carriers do they work mostly with? What are the carriers that they accept? Now, you should know that because you already looked in the carrier's network to see that they're in network. But you want to be sure because they may work better with a particular carrier than another. Most of them are using the acuity system, availability system, systems that the medical practices use that all feed into the carriers and the pharmacy and the Medicare. Most of them are tied into these systems. But some carrier systems, as you know, if you're going to each carrier site to do an enrollment, some are easier to navigate than others. So it could be the same thing for them. They could have certain carriers that they just love to work with because it's so easy to do the documentation right there while the patient is there and it's done. And they don't have to pay someone outside to actually do their coding. So you're going to ask them, what companies do you currently accept? Now, in your head, you're thinking of the ones that you can match with that provider's office. You may or may not have a discussion about, which ones you do, but now that you know the ones that they have, you may, if it's somebody who looks very promising, maybe somebody you might want to contract with if you don't have a contract. You got to match all the pieces together. You obviously cannot go in the doctor's office and if they say well, I'll use Gold Kidney again. We actually take Gold Kidney. We're in network with Gold Kidney, but you don't have Gold Kidney. It's not very much that you can say that you're going to help them to do. Does that make sense? Okay, so now you're at the point where you know what the doctor's office, what plans they accept. And the other thing is this can change. You all know this from what happened during this year. Um, After my 24 years in doing Medicare, this year was the first year that doctors were actually leaving plans after January 1. Plans where we had written them during AEP for January 1 effective date, and then in February, the doctor's no longer taking it. That was the first time that I can remember that that has happened, but now I know that it can happen, and it happens. So what you set up with them initially, the plans that they take you, because you're going to stay in continual contact with the provider, you'll know if they're not taking a plan. Let me just share something with you that happened year before last. Year before last, I had set up sales meetings every week at this particular doctor's office. Now, you all know sales meetings must be filed. So they were filed for me by United Healthcare. So every week, same day, same time, they were advertised. I paid advertising dollars. My FMO paid advertising dollars, was running it through the entire AEP. About 3 weeks into the AEP, the practice manager came to me one day when I was there and said, we're not going to be taking United Healthcare after next week. So by that time, it was October. We were probably, what she was saying is, as of November 1st, we're not going to be taking United Healthcare. So because United Healthcare filed those sales meetings for me, they all had to be canceled. And because it was such a short notice, there just wasn't any place else that I could find where I could just get it going right away. So these are things I'm just saying that can happen. Be aware, but at least have that relationship. And I felt if I was closer to that practice manager, I would have known before I had all those meetings filed. So I assumed the responsibility of not being close enough to her for her to let me know this was in the works before I set up all those meetings. So keep your options open, stay close to the people who are close to you, be mindful of how you're treating them. So now that you've spoken to the person that you need to speak to, and you've learned what plans they accept, and in your head, you're figuring out which plans you have, your next step is to plan what you're going to do. And here's a couple of suggestions of how you can have the provider office to help you. The first one is suggest, particularly with AMP, when the new plans come out for the new year, you're not trying to teach them or show them all of the plans and all of the benefits. That's not what you want to do. But you do want to have a 2027 or the next year's luncheon with the office staff. And what you want to present to them are key things that they hear from the patient that will trigger a call to you. What do you think some of those key things might be? You can put it in chat, you can raise your hand, you can open your mic, and you can say it. What do you think some of those things might be that the doctor's office staff hears from the patient that now is the time that they may suggest to the patient, well, you need to call Sherry Ross and see if she can help you with that? What are some of those things? These are the things you got to think about, because these are the things you're going to point out to the staff. If you hear somebody say this, then you need to have them call me.
One might be when I call the company, I can't understand the people talking to me, or it's a long wait time, hold time to get through to somebody. Those are common things I hear from people. Um, or I called regarding an issue and it didn't get resolved. You know, it could be I was passed on from one person to another to another. It could be something like that. So um, I know one of the things when I used to work for Humana and we had a preferred provider, one of the things we'd always try to do is ask them, was there anything that we might be able to do from the sales perspective to take back to Humana to make the relationship better? So, like if there was something that irked them or something that they had a trouble with, and maybe if we could take that back and get it to the right person, we could resolve that issue. And that was finding a way to help them, help the office.
That's good. Thanks, Ricky. Anybody else?
I was thinking, perhaps I don't know if you can hear me here. Perhaps
Yes, I can.
they may have a question about, their health changed and they're wondering, am I still going to be covered for this under this plan? Or maybe their situation changes. Maybe they were on Medicaid and then they got that spin down or something like that. Those kinds of things. How is that going to affect my plan? How do I get ahead of that?
That's good. Um, people think about this when you go to the doctor. First thing she's going to do is weigh you. And then they're going to take you in the room and sit you down. They're going to take your blood pressure and your pulse. And then they're going to ask you what medications you're taking. And so one thing that kind of jumps out is people will say, oh, no, I'm not taking that anymore. You're not taking it? No, I'm not taking it because it costs too much. Oh, well, you know what? If you're having a problem with your prescriptions, let's talk to the doctor about it first. But you may want to call Faye Horton because she may be able to find a different plan for you. Any of those things, when that nurse is taking the information, that's the person that you want to be. That's why you're having the lunch with the staff. You want them to know. Or they're checking out. The doctor's already seen them, and the person who's checking them out is trying to set their next appointment. And they say, oh no, I can't come. I can't come on Tuesdays. Oh, well, what day is better? Oh, I don't know. I really have to check because I have to pay somebody to bring me. That's a transportation problem. Oh, well, you know what? If you're having transportation issues, I'm not sure if Faye Horton can help you, but here's her card. Take it, call her and see if there's some way that she can help. Any of these things that come up, those are the things that you're going to have a list of them, a checklist of them that you're going to leave with the staff when you have this luncheon. You are not trying to do a Medicare 101. You're trying to get them to hear the issues that the patient is having that might bring you into help them. Does that make sense? And that's not something that stops with that, but a good time to do that is at the beginning of the AEP, because you can always say, since I don't know what the next year's will be, but if I were to do it from what the changes were for this year, we all already know the maximum out of pocket for covered prescription drugs is going to increase. So that's another thing that you can share with them. And if you're fortunate enough to have your luncheon when the doctor is present, that's a key one, because that keeps the doctor in tune with the fact that, people may have to pay more for their prescriptions. Once you've done that, I want to say come to Jesus meeting with the staff. Now you really want to plan what works well in the office atmosphere. Now, since COVID, a lot of offices will not allow you to come in to conduct meetings, but then there are other offices that have conference rooms, and some of them are community rooms. They actually want you to come in and do or have different receptions. Then there are certain select providers. They're not called select. I think they're called preferred with some carriers, where people have lower copays if they use those doctors. Those offices are mostly offices who don't do anything but Medicare Advantage. They don't take original Medicare. They only do Medicare Advantage. And those patients, they encourage the insurance professional to work with them, and they may even have something set up like agent of the day, where you're there for a certain period of time, and you're available. Now, in those situations, some of those offices, they don't just have one agent. They may have several, but you may have an opportunity to work with a provider's office that way as well. So now you've gotten through the gatekeeper. You know the steps of how you're going to get in there. You know what you're going to say to get in. You know who you're going to speak to. What are your questions? Let's open the floor for Q&A.
I have a question when you mentioned, this is Cherry speaking, the luncheon. Are you saying have the luncheon would actually be there at their office?
Of course, because they only get like 30 minutes or so. Where are you going to take them? You're going to order it and have it sent in. And if you are really working well with your insurance broker manager, they may pay for it. It's going to be
Okay.
delivered. The last one I did, I ordered from Panera. I had already met with the office manager and knew what time that they shut down for lunch. But, with doctors' offices, if they still got patients, they got to see them. So I had the lunch delivered at 12, and I told her I'll be in between 12:15 and 12:30, because I just want to come in for those few minutes after they've had their chance to eat. Well, when I got there, they were just getting to lunch because they were finishing up with patients.
Okay, thank you.
And that's also a reason why you need to know how many people work in the office. Because if you're going to plan a lunch and you want the insurance carrier to pay for it, you need to be able to tell them how many people it is, where you want it ordered from, what time you want it delivered. So they have an idea of what it's going to cost. Because don't forget, they have budgets too.
After you've established a relationship at the practice, how often do you stay in contact with your primary contact?
As often as necessary. And I say it that way because sometimes they will have people coming in every day. And one office that I work with is like 5 minutes from my house. If somebody comes in there and they are turning 65, say in the next 3 months, next 6 months, they're going to call me while the person is there. Now, if I'm not busy and I can go or I can shoot over there, that's fine. But if not, because the person is there, they're going to put them on the phone with me and I'm going to set a time where I can meet them. And then there are other times when nobody is there for a week in that particular office. So you can establish a weekly, during AEP you want to be there more often, you should set something up that is consistent. Now, I wouldn't say be in the office more than 2 hours during AEP because time is valuable. So, but if it's the situation with the community room, you can hold your ANOC meetings there. So you can have more than one person at one time and then set your appointments from that. So if they're willing to let you use the facility, if they have a conference room, that's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, this is Deb. And
Yes,
hi. If you are going to be working with more than one carrier and doing this with them, would you set it up as an educational event? Because if you're going to do a sales event, you shouldn't really do more than one carrier at a time. Like how would you do that if you're going to be going into the office, like for that agent of the day thing?
if you're going in for the agent of the day, you're going to represent all of the carriers that the office takes.
Okay, so then it would be educational as opposed to sales?
It's not anything you have to file. Yes, it's educational.
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
Right. The only time you would file it is if you're going to make it a sales meeting that's open to everybody and it's going to be highly marketed and publicized so that a lot of people will come. Another thing that you can start with is patient appreciation. So in your conversation with the office manager, the doctor, whoever your key contact is, once you find out who it is, find out about, say, do you mind telling me what percentage of your patient base is their Humana patients? Would you say that you're United, you have more United than you have Humana or Aetna or whatever? You know, they may not tell you the total number of patients that they have, but if you get some percentages, you will know how to work with them because you then will know which company they work better with. They have more patients with Humana. They work well with Humana. If they work well with Humana, then your Humana broker rep is going to work well with you.
Miss Faye, I have a question. What have you found to be the most common need in doctors' offices? Is it like, for example, growth, retention? Is it um, Yeah, what have you found to be the most common need and one that we all could take away to say, um, maybe present that when we speak to a doctor's office?
AEP is retention.
Okay.
Definitely retention during AEP. So that's why when you're first talking to them, you want to say not only that you want to help them to grow, and you do that because you work in the neighborhood with several people. And I mean, that might be a provider's office that you have put a patient in there. If you look through your book of business and you know that somebody you've written, that's their doctor, say it when you go in there. Retention is their number one thing during AEP, but throughout the year, after everything, after it's just like our book of business. Once the dust settles by February, now they want to see new patients coming in. So it's both. You really want to show them that you can help them to retain what they have, which means if a plan drops or a plan exits, they're going to be the ones who send the letter to their patients saying, your plan is no longer going to be available. However, we're working with Ricky Bug. I'm sorry. And you should contact him. Here's the contact number. Because they can't give you the patient's name to do that. But they can have, and they can invite, you can set up with the doctor to have all of those patients that's being displaced come to an event. If they have a conference room, you don't have to pay for it. But again, if the plan is leaving, and let's say you're going to move them out, they're leaving, if Humana's leaving and you're going to move them out to Aetna, call your Aetna broker manager, let your Aetna broker manager help you get a place to bring all these people together. Any other questions?
Miss Faye, this is Jacqueline.
Yes, ma'am.
My question to you is kind of piggybacking on what you were just talking about with the Humana example. When you know that a particular hospital is no longer going to take a particular carrier, how do you handle that when you know that they've got their main location in the heart of the city and then they have locations in the suburbs all around the city? How would you handle that when you know that there's a strong possibility that that major hospital is not going to be in the network with that carrier?
I pray hard, Jacqueline. I pray very hard because this happens so often. But what usually ends up happening on the last day that the contract has to be renewed, they reach a settlement. So that's what I do. And I just try to tell my people, don't get all nervous and upset. One year, I mean, it happened in one area and everybody just got so nervous and, oh no, I got to change my plan. And I kept saying, but just wait, because, you know, you can still change in January. Just wait. They're gonna, you know, it's too many people for the hospital to lose. And it's too many people for the insurance company to lose. They're going to do something.
So you kind of encourage them to hold out, even if
For
they
as
have to
long as
hold out throughout the entire AP, because if they're already a Medicare Advantage client anyway, they're going to have the OEP to be able to make a change.
The only thing I would ask, and the other thing is, in that case, you could always ask for a medical exception if they're going through a particular treatment that they have to go there. So they could get that kind of an exception. That won't apply for everyone, and it won't be approved for everyone. But I asked them to hold out for as long as you can. And because usually if it's large enough that was gonna affect the bottom line
Mhm.
for the two entities involved, they're gonna reach some kind of settlement.
Now, let's say they don't come into agreement and that hospital is not going to use that major carrier any longer, then,
The OEP, you move them.
okay, now how do we maximize on those practices that are affiliated with that hospital? When you know
You
that
may
they're,
have to move if you have no choice, you'll have to move them. But if let's say you're working with a doctor's office that takes 5 different plans, now you're going to go to the second choice.
okay,
They're still with that doctor,
okay,
but they have to choose a different plan. And you
right,
have to match the plan to the customer. You got to figure out the plan that's going to work best.
right, okay,
I have a business associate who last year, same thing happened, but they did not reach an agreement. And she moved more than 100 people to a particular carrier. They all stayed with the same doctor, but they changed carriers. And that was not only profitable for her, it was good. It was a win for the customer because they could keep the doctor, and she was able to receive a substantial bonus from the new company that she moved them to.
excellent.
So you have to, we're running a business, everybody. So we have to use business strategies, and they're going to change over time, and nothing's going to be set, and this is the way it's going to be forever and ever and ever. So move with what you need to move with in your particular area. When it happens, just figure it out, do the best, or make the best business moves that you can. I hope that helps you, Jacqueline.
Thank you. Excellent. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Hi, Faye. This is Deb again. I love the ideas that you had for doing the meetings, with the office staff in the office. And I know, as we know, the offices are always so busy. And if we're going to be dropping off lunch and whatnot, what do you recommend if the staff is like eating in shifts and whatnot? So should we just focus on that main office manager and maybe have something in writing that they can share with other people? Or what are your kind of best thoughts on that?
Yes, that's a good idea, Deb. If they don't all go to lunch at the same time, some offices close during lunch and the other offices don't. If that's the case and you're not able to, you want to talk to the office manager or whoever the senior person is, the lead person, to find out what's the best way for you to handle that and create that relationship. And yes, you always should have a lead behind. Always, you should have a lead behind. So make sure that the lead behind has those key things that you want them to look for. And you can have those printed on a card, something that's easy for them to look at and use. And put it in a nice little envelope or a nice little bag with some kind of gift for them. Anything else? Any other questions? I'm happy that you all were here. We did go over a little bit, but we started about 6 or 7 minutes after 8. This was to be about an hour, and it was. Thank you again. If you do have questions, at the very top of being here, I put in chat my contact information. So if anybody needs it, it's there. My name, my telephone number, my email, and you can join the school community if you click that link. Join the school community because there's other free trainings in the school community as well. Lisa Marie says she's already started researching providers near her zip code. Very good. This is, I mean, if you're not going to take any action, then there's no sense in you sitting through all of this. But if you're going to be here, get what you need, take it, use it, and just make sure that you're able to use what you've gotten. You all are so welcome. Thank you all for coming. Can someone drop the details again, please? I can't see anything. Now, which details were you needing, Camille?
Yes, Miss Faye, I came a little late. Apologies. So I can't see anything prior to when I joined the call. So if you could drop the link with your contact info again, please, in the chat.
Oh,
Just
if you
copy and
scroll up
paste
in
it.
chat, you can't see it? Okay.
No.
Are you looking at the screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
But I'm not sharing my screen, am I?
No, I'm looking at the chat.
The chat. It's
I'm
not in
looking
the
at the
chat.
chat.
It's not in the chat.
Well, yeah, let me show
Okay,
you.
I see that. Okay,
At
someone put it
school,
in there. The school community link. I see that. Thank you, Miss Lisa. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was
Yes.
looking for. Thank you.
Okay, did you get what you needed?
Yes, ma'am. I wanted the link to the school community.
Oh, okay. All right, good. All right. Thank you. Have a great night.
Yifei.